when the Switch first came out. That made a lot of people conclude that that meant that the 3DS was over, which is understandable. A new system comes out, of course there's less interest in its predecessor, even though Nintendo said that the Switch isn't really replacing the 3DS. The two systems were supposed to coexist in the marketplace. We all kind of, at least that's my take from it, we all kind of thought that this is just what Nintendo has to say, because they can't just say, yes, this is the new thing, the 3DS is now being replaced by the Switch, because that would kill the system completely, and they're not going to do that. So yeah, we all kind of like, we understood that, yeah, Nintendo has to say this to kind of squeeze a couple of more sales out of the 3DS line, but we all know that their focus now is going to be the Switch. The funny thing here is that I used to own two 3DSs and I sold them because I didn't play with them that much. And then a couple of months ago I actually picked up a new 2DS XL. I mentioned it in the channel here before. In fact, my previous video I also talked about the 2DS XL. And it's funny because when the 2DS first came out, I thought it was pointless. I made a video in my main channel saying that I didn't understand what Nintendo was going for there. And I guess I wasn't alone, because a lot of people also didn't understand who the 2DS was actually for. And the irony is that I myself have come to realize that there's a lot of value in a 3DS system, and apparently I'm not alone, because NDP just reported this past January was the best January sales of the 3DS system since 2013, 2 years after the system was introduced. So a lot of people bought it. And now that I'm playing and loving my new 2DS XL, it's easy to see why. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Switch, and it's my favorite console that I bought in a very long time. In fact, it's the only one that I actually play outside of, portables. If you know me, you know I'm a big portability fan, and maybe that's why I love the Switch so much. But the releases for the Switch have been few and far between the last couple of weeks. There wasn't anything major, at least not for my interests, not the kind of thing that I like to play in the last couple of months. So I've been kind of just playing Zelda and Mario Kart, just kind of back and forth between Zelda and Mario Kart. And Mario Odyssey, I'll beat that someday. But yeah, I'm really impressed that the 3DS did so well in January, especially like I mentioned, it's the period when people have the least amount of money. Perhaps that even explains it now that I think about it. The 3DS is a lot cheaper than the Switch, so if you're feeling like playing some games, specifically Nintendo games, but the 400 Canadian for the Switch is a little too rich for your blood, this is half the price and it has a lot more games. You gotta remember, this doesn't just play 3DS games, this also plays DS games, and even though I've had a DS since the thing came out, there's a lot of titles in the DS library that I overlooked. And not only that, but it also has virtual console, something that is sorely missing from the Switch. Now the Switch is coming up on its first year of existing, and I guess I can understand why it doesn't have virtual console yet. But only because this is Nintendo we're talking about, and they seem to hate money. They make some really boneheaded business decisions. I mean, who am I? They have billions of dollars, I don't, so maybe I'm the idiot here. But it doesn't make sense that they would wait this long to put Virtual Console on the system. We know from the system having been hacked that it's more than capable of running, say, GBA titles or Super Nintendo titles. So if we were to see the same things that we see on the 3DS Virtual Console, the eShop, if we had that on the Switch, I would love my Switch even more. And perhaps, come to think of it, that's why they're delaying it. They're able to squeeze some life, some sales out of this aging console that is now, I mean, obviously this is recent, but the 3DS platform has existed since 2011, so it's 7 years old at this point. That's a that's about the time that a portable console lasts. So I'm starting to think that this is not a boneheaded decision. This is actually a brilliant move, because the Switch is selling regardless, and the 3DS, they need to squeeze a little bit more life out of the system, so it makes sense to leave that exclusive for the 3DS for the time being. So if you want to play, say, some Game Boy titles, GBA titles, Super Nintendos, that's all available on the 3DS or the 2DS XL, like it's my case. So when you put all of that together, more portable, for one, and you know how I feel about portability. It's cheaper. In fact, it's about half the price of the Switch. It has a much bigger library. You have 4 Pokemon titles to choose from, just as an example. You have a massive backlog of DS games, which will likely never be available on the Switch because the form factor of the Switch just doesn't lend itself for DS games. So perhaps we're never going to see that on that system. That alone makes it so that the library on the 3DS will always be bigger than the one that we'll find on the Switch, even years down the road. Now, I don't expect the 3DS to see a whole bunch of new titles. Obviously, the focus from both Nintendo and third parties is going to be the Switch. I mean, it's like I said, it's news about Switch releases lately have been kind of a trickle, so that's kind of a bummer. But I'm hoping that this news will make developers more interested in still putting some games out for the 3DS. I mean, it's obviously not dead. People are still enjoying this system. But what do you think? If you have neither, let's say you don't have a Switch and you don't have a 3DS, would you consider buying something that's older, even though it has a lot of benefits over the Switch, like the bigger library, bigger battery life, more portable? Would you consider this, or to you it would be kind of a waste of money? If you're already spending the 150 American or 200 Canadian if you live in Canada, would it be better then to just save a little bit extra and buy the latest and greatest, the one that is gonna last for, I think Nintendo said something like 10 years? Well, we'll see. How do you feel about this? Let me know in the comments below. Like me, I'm a bit of a collector, as you can see. I love Nintendo and I love portables, so I kind of had to have both. But if I had to choose one, if I only have money for one, I think right now the 3DS offers a better value, because when you think about it, for the money you drop into a Switch, you can pick up a 3DS in at least 2 games. Now remember, the $300 price tag on the Switch, that doesn't include a game. I've always had the impression that Nintendo should have at least included 1-2-Switch with the system, even though it's a garbage game. I'm amazed that Nintendo thought they could get away with charging full retail price. I mean, it's not full retail price, I think it's a little bit discounted, but still, if it costs $50, that's $50 too much. That game is garbage, I'm sorry. Like, I remember people thinking that Wii Sports didn't offer value, which is insane, because I can still play and have fun with esports today. 1-2-Switch is the kind of game that you're gonna play for 10 minutes, and it's only ever fun if you're playing with a bunch of people because everybody's doing something silly in front of like, it's garbage. 1-2-Switch, I think, is the most disappointed I've been with Nintendo for a while. But going back to my question, what do you think offers a better value right now? And I know that Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Super Mario Odyssey do tip the scales towards the Switch, but that's the thing, right? If you live in Canada, like is my case, $400 for the Switch and another $80. So after everything is said and done, after taxes, you're looking at $500 to play one game. If you put the same $500 towards a new 2DS XL, like it's my case here, you can pick up 2 of them and 2 games. So yeah, what do you think? Anyway, that's all the time I have for today, and I'll see you guys next time.